Pastor Yo from Nelson Avenue. We are starting this podcast series, hoping that the things we talk about in this series will be helpful, not just to Christians, but also to others. We're in a very unique time in our lives and in human history with the COVID-19 pandemic happening, and we thought, let's try something that might address maybe questions people have, fears that they're dealing with. So stay tuned for this podcast, but also for upcoming podcasts as we seek to really listen to what maybe God's saying to us in this time. In this episode, I want to look at a couple of verses in Philippians that really speak into this present context. And as I read through Philippians, I'm amazed at how many verses speak into our present context of this COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm thinking about in the first chapter of Philippians, Paul says, "For me to live is Christ and to die is gain." This life and death, not sure what's going to happen, but he has a perspective whether he's alive or whether he dies. I just find that verse just jumps out at me. A couple of other verses that jump out at me at this time is in the final chapter, the fourth chapter. I've heard these verses many times. It's amazing how many times I've heard these verses in my life. But in this particular context, they just seem to come alive. This is Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7. But it says, "Do not be anxious about anything." Now, that might sound like, how is that possible? That's impossible. I think it is impossible unless God is helping us. But I think the Bible is recognizing most of us worry about everything. I think that's sort of lying behind this verse or this phrase, this sentence. So the Bible's saying most people worry about everything. Do not worry about anything. But in every situation, so that's especially the present situation, so much to pray about. By prayer and petition, every prayer, every petition, everything on our hearts and minds, everything we're worried about, bring all of that to God. That's how we deal with our anxieties. We don't simply stew on them, think about them, worry, but we bring it all to God. And then the Bible, these verses add this little phrase, in every situation by prayer and petition. And then it says, with thanksgiving, which I'm trying to do in our present moment. Lots to pray about, lots of people to pray for. But also reminding ourselves all the prayers, all the requests, but also all the thanksgivings, all the things we have to be thankful for also in this time. Prayers, petition, thanksgivings, present your requests to God. That's how we deal with anxiety. And then it's like a promise. The peace of God is going to come. Now that might be a little different for each person, but this is the way that we're called in this present situation to deal with what's going on in our lives. The present worries for our families, worries for our communities, people worried about their work, their businesses, bring all of that to God. Petitions and prayers with thanksgivings. And as we do that, the invitation is peace is going to enter our lives. The Bible says the peace that passes understanding. I don't know what's happening in my heart, but as I pour it out to God, He is pouring in His peace and His shalom. That's His word to us. That's also His blessing to us. And as I read these verses, I just give thanks for the book of Philippians. It is a book for our present moments.